I see the on-air light is on, so if we could stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Kathy, if we can have a roll call, please.
Here.
Q is absent. McDonald. Here. Delogley.
Here.
Destin.
Here.
Bergauer.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here.
Saban. Present. We have a quorum.
All right, Police Chaplain Benarsek is here to open us up.
Dear God, we just want to take this time to thank you for this beautiful day and for the most part a beautiful summer and the great weather on Monday nights. It's just such a cool thing to see all the people down at the car show and patronizing the businesses, people sitting outside on the sidewalk having dinners, people outside here on the lawn enjoying the concert, Friday nights at the public landing. It's just such a beautiful thing. And thank you for blessing our city. And I thank you for each member of this council who helps run this city and makes it happen. I just ask that you would bless them, their lives, their families. I just ask that you would give them wisdom and guidance and direction as they come up with ideas and lead this city. And once again, I thank you for keeping a hedge of protection around our police officers. And when they go on calls, we're out there patrolling and just giving them guidance and direction and wisdom on maybe some calls and keeping our fire personnel safe too. And thank you just for the general safety and the peace that we enjoy in our city. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Steve. All right, my friends, we have any liaison reports tonight?
We have the summer beautification.
Summer vacation?
Summer beautification, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I want to do liaison reports, so usually sometimes there's something good to be said before everybody leaves.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, and if anyone else has.
does anybody have anything?
I have a small thing. But our public works jobs are going fine, but I just wanted people to know that next week, construction will start by CN Railroad down at the 8th Street crossing, which is the public landing. So I wanted actually Brent to say a little bit more about that, so they know it's not us.
Thank you. This project has been planned for a number of years. The cost of this project is roughly $600,000. This was a grant that the city received, so this is not city funds that will be used for this. The crossing will be intermittently closed down, so there will be some signage that the railroad puts up, and also Public Works. We will be adding some signage to get people to head southbound down Commerce Street, and then cross at 9th, and then walk back around. So parking lot will be open. However, that crossing, there will be some challenges crossing that for the time being. Again, it will be several weeks worth of work, and there will be flaggers down there, and safety will be of the utmost importance. So it will be a lot of signs and a lot of barricades and a lot of work going on.
I have a question for Brent. I'm seeing that the Briggs Street lift station has kind of come to standstills due to concrete curing, or what's going on with that?
Submittals. So right now, the submittals, every step of the project requires submittals to be approved. And so when I say submittals, the contractor has been submitting on the type of concrete and the concrete that was spec'd out in the plans. There's a little bit of a shortage out there in concrete, and so essentially what's going on is we've gone back and forth and we've found a concrete mixture that we're going to allow, and it's just up to the contractor to start back up, but that's the only reason.
Sure.
Yeah.
How's the quiet zone going down there on the other side of the tracks?
Quiet zone is going. It is, curb has been placed on Davies on the east side. Curb has been placed on the south side of 9th. We've got to make a little bit of a modification to the radius to allow trucks to get in and out. With the gas company that's down there on Ames. Just getting those trucks in and out, it's again, just a little bit of a modification to that curb. We've added storm sewer in that area. We've also widened, like I said, Davies, and working with Les Moore, who's right on that corner, with some sidewalks and some gates. And I would anticipate within the next couple weeks, and then beyond that, it's about a 30-day period. We request the actual quiet zone to be enacted. The BNSF will come out, they'll evaluate it, ICC will come out, they'll evaluate it, and once that's done, signs go up, and we have our quiet zone finally, so, yep.
People aren't able to sleep without the noise.
Yeah,
At least with the one train.
very close, yes. 80 plus trains.
You will get that.
Oh, I missed the train.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
Yep.
any other liaison things besides, well, I've been holding off for the big one. We all good? All right, Joanne, please, take it away.
This evening, we're going to be recognizing those residents that were kind enough to send in their decorations and flowers that they've done to their homes. So we'd like to, not everyone is here, however, though, we would like to recognize those that did make it, and then those that weren't able to make it for whatever reason, we will have your signs available to you, and you can come to City Hall, and Allison will be able to give you what you're supposed to be getting, a sign and so forth, and a certificate. So, Mayor, if you could help me out here? Okay. So the first resident, we have them in somewhat of an order here, but the Beaumont residents, which is Bill and Emily, if you would mind coming up. And this is their home and their beautiful flowers. And we wanted to acknowledge that Bill is the one who does the landscaping, so you do a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah, it's tight.
That's
Tight.
okay, Emily, you back them up. She watches the kids. Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the big joy. Well
No,
done.
thank you for submitting that. You have a beautiful place there. Thank you. We appreciate it. Why don't you come over here?
First kid? Oh, so you already have kids to watch, so how many you got?
We have 2 and then 2 on the way.
Two on the, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I don't think the landscape.
Yeah, I would think not. So,
Why don't you put a sign there, okay? And get a sign there. That's okay, but thank you so much for coming and submitting your home, thank you. Okay, so the next one is, now, this couple, unfortunately, the Evans residents, the residents were not able to make it. But this is their home and their flowers that they were able to grow beautifully. So, and also by the pool area. So the Gray, Mr. and Mrs. Gray, you did a great job. Excuse me?
that was the Evans was this one, and then the Grays were next.
Oh, I'm sorry, so that's two different residents
Yep,
there.
yep.
Oh, you went too fast for me, okay. Okay, wait a minute, could we just put it back? Okay, the Evans. Okay, so this is the ranch, okay. All right, well, thank you for submitting, it's very pretty, done a great job. Okay, and then the next one. Okay, the Gray residents. Once again, unfortunately, we're not able to make it this evening, but once again, your sign will be waiting for you as well as your certificate. And thank you for submitting. What a beautiful view. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, Van Tolen residents.
Yeah, we're skipping Norwood and went to Van Polen.
Which one, what,
Van Polen,
right,
related to the wrong one, we're skipping,
yeah, we're skipping that one.
so it's now Van Polen.
Okay. Do we know where they came in on the list of first, second, and third? This kind of looks familiar here to me. So this year, we did something a little different where we were recognizing first, second, and third place, and of course, recognizing those that didn't quite make it to the third or second or first. but we wanted to recognize everyone. And third? Okay, so this is the third applicant here that submitted, and they came in third place. So they will be getting a 50. Is this fourth?
It's actually on the slide, Joy.
Okay.
So go to the next one.
All right,
Let's
okay.
move on from Van Dolen.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, so this is our third place one.
Yay, champion.
So they will get a gift certificate for their hard work and submitting their home. So thank you very much, even though they, weren't able to make it tonight. So thank you, okay? And let's see, we also then have second place. So which is our own alderman and his wife Joanne. Did Joanne make it in yet?
Oh, fun.
Okay, well. they
Joanne's
came
the
in
architect,
second.
though, yeah.
He is an alderman, he's not gonna get a gift certificate. But we
But we
should-
give you kudos.
We give
Yes.
you kudos, a sign, and a certificate, okay? So thank you very much for submitting. Your home is beautiful, and thank you for submitting it.
Yeah, I give that credit to my wife. She works really
Okay,
hard
so Joanne
decorating,
is
so
the-
Joanne is the architect
landscaper,
here.
the green thumb here.
Maybe she
Okay.
can win it. Yeah, it looks like Joanne.
Yeah. Okay, and then our first place winner are the Johnsons at 801 Clinton Street, and they weren't able to make it also this evening, but they did a great job with their decorating, and so they came in first place. So congratulations
Very
to
fun.
everyone, and we appreciate submitting.
Yes,
your
thanks for
homes.
coming out, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Where are the little ones then? I can see, yeah.
Night out for them.
It is a night out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanne. Thanks for
Thank you.
waiting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. My weed garden either, yeah. So,
So Mayor, just really quick, I forgot to touch base on the Summer Art Series. It's just in full bloom, and as Pastor said, I think he kind of mentioned everything that's still going on. The public works on, public landing on Fridays with the bands, and the car show is still going on Mondays. I think last Monday they got rained out, but everything's still in full bloom, so come on down and enjoy Lockport during the summer.
fun. You know, one year my old Willys won Best in Show because everybody abandoned, and I was the only car left, and I stuck it out just so I could get the best car in the show. All right, you guys, so let's move forward then. So we're going to do our city council. So first thing is we're looking for a consent agenda tonight, looking for a motion. Joanne and Renee, all in favor? All right, so we're looking for approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes from August 2nd, regular city council meeting minutes from August 2nd, our payroll period ending August 6th, and accepting the quote from Xylem Water Solutions for the 2 submersible pumps at the New Avenue lift station. So looking for a motion to approve. Motion. All right, Pat?
Second.
Second with Renee. And may we have a roll call, please?
You got it. Pugh.
Yes.
Okay, Sheehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Deloach.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Birnbauer.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes?
And Sig.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we're looking for a motion to reappoint our gaming commissioners, Resolution 23066. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Renee, seconded by Pat. Pat McDonald. Oh, man, we got to get used to this. All right. Center Pat, yep. All right. Any comments, discussion? Then we'll do a roll call, please.
Try to get the seat order right this time. Sheehan.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Deloach.
Yes.
Birnbauer.
Yes.
Deskin.
Present.
Bartleson.
Yes, here?
Yes.
Both. Here, yes.
All right, thanks. All right, and then next, we're looking for a motion to pass our bills through August 8th.
Second.
All right, Pat and Renee.
Christina.
Oh, sorry, Christina.
It's okay.
Holy cow, it's totally off. I like try to tune my ears in. I don't have them yet. All right, so Jonathan and Christina, sorry.
Yeah, I've been doing Patrick Sheehan and Pat McDonald. That's why I keep it saying, but you do what you want.
I think I can do that. Okay, so sorry. So Jonathan, Christina, any questions, thoughts? And we'll do a roll call, please.
All right, Sheehan,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Longley,
I abstain. The city of Lockport is paying my employer for material used on the Marino water main.
Destin,
Yes.
sorry, odd word. Burkauer,
Yes.
Arneson,
Yes?
Saban.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. I have some comment cards, but they're for agenda items for the next meeting, so I'll just hold on to those. If there's nothing else, new business, then we can do a motion to adjourn and move on to committee of the whole.
Second.
All right, Pat, Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So when yeah, please.
Okay. 7:13. Okay, roll. Sheehan,
Here.
Pugh,
Present.
McDonald,
Here.
Longley.
Here.
Burkauer,
Here.
Deskin,
Here.
Arneson,
Here?
Saban.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right. So first thing on the agenda is AT1. Amendment and restated agreement for the annexation. So please, Sunny.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Item 81 deals with the amended and restated agreement for the annexation redevelopment of a parcel about 25 acres in size that will encompass a 320-unit apartment community northeast corner of Adelman Road and 159th Street. This is in regards to the annexation agreement that will, not only allow the annexation of those parcels that are outlined in yellow and blue, but also for the restated and amended annexation agreement for all the prior annexation agreement that will cover that area. So the developer Continental 646 Fund, along with, and this may change, it's the MJR Real Estate Holding. Currently, those parcels are owned by Professional Investment Group. But this redevelopment agreement will call for the annexation of those parcels and also the rezoning of those parcels into R4 to allow the residential apartment complex. The proposed annexation agreement will then also rezone some of the parcels that are currently zoned C3 into R3. That will be part of the residential area. And along with the amended and restated annexation agreement will be the proposed development agreement with Continental to provide the guide and address the development of that residential community. And the development agreement includes Continental doing improvements, including the resurfacing of Adelman Road north of 159th Street, and that it will pay for its proportionate share of the cost of future installation of the traffic signal if so warranted. So these are the annexed property that will be annexed in. I know Lance will talk more in details regarding the redevelopment area that I'm going to kind of fast forward the area that will be redeveloped. So this is basically the annexation part, the agreement part, and also the development of those areas, including annexing the Oatman and the Oswald parcels. So what's required under the Illinois Municipal Code is that we have a public hearing at the next City Council meeting, which will be September 6th. After the public hearing, the City Council will vote on 3 items, which is the resolution number 23-074 that would approve the master annexation agreement, ordinance number 23-026 that will approve the annexation of those parcels, the parcels back here, and the resolution of 23-075 approving the redevelopment agreement with Continental for Springs at Lockport. So if there's any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Well, I'll make that motion. No, we're
No,
not.
this is the, yeah, this is the committee of the
Never
whole.
mind. I'll make that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever.
Yeah, in 3 weeks. And the publication has already been, is set to happen on the 18th, so we are more than in compliance with the statutory requirement for the annexation agreement.
So what parcel isn't annexed? Because, is it just that one
Yeah,
small?
well, actually, these 5 parcels, 3 of them are owned by the Oswalds, and then 2 of them, the southern parcels on that, is parcel 9 and 10, they're owned by the Altman Trust. So those are the only parcels that are not annexed in so far. All the other parcels, the, Dowers, the Professional Investment Group, everything else in that whole subject area has already been annexed, except for those, if you look at the the west corner of that red outlined area is those 5 properties.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right, so next thing is we'll have a public hearing at our next meeting.
September 6th.
Okay.
And I will hand the platform to Lance Thies, who will talk about
For
the
CD1?
development. Yep.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep, please.
All right. The applicant, Jen Patton, who is here in the audience tonight on behalf of Continental 646 Fund LLC, has submitted an application for a special use permit for a plan development, preliminary and final development plans in one step, and preliminary final subdivision plat for a 320-unit multifamily development known as the Springs at Lockport. A concept plan for a 280-unit gated apartment community with 14 residential 2-story buildings was approved in 2022. After that approval, the applicant went to a number of extraordinary measures related to the yellow dashed box on the left side of the image above to resolve a number of property ownership issues with the state's attorney's office to bring all the properties up to an accurate description of the land and the ownership. That resulted in some modifications to that concept plan that were outlined in your staff report. While the changes are departures from the strict layout of the concept plan that's on your screen, we believe as city staff that they are consistent with the general location, circulation, building quantity, and architecture of the approved concept plan. A plat of rezoning has been submitted which shows R4 to the north and C3, which is already in place to the south along 159th Street to make way for commercial development properties. The final development plan meets all of our bulk requirements related to building setbacks, lot coverage, impervious surface area. They're all in compliance with city code. The future commercial development by the others, that is in Lot 2 and Lot 4 on your screen, are unknown at this time. They will likely be sold to a commercial developer who will then take those forward for retail uses. There are 14 total apartment buildings still with 320 units located on Lot 1, which is basically all the development areas on your screen. Primary access will come from Edelman Road, which is a private road, and a right-in, right-out access off 159th Street, which is under the jurisdiction of IDOT, and is a 5-lane arterial highway that runs east-west, will be a secondary access point, but the primary construction entrance. Parking is in conformance with the city code. The building elevations that you see on your screen are also in conformance with the city's design standards. This is the 2-story building. This is the 3-story building. This is the clubhouse. All 4 facades that go around the building there. Landscape plan is in conformance with the city's landscape code, and the photometric plan is in conformance with the city code as well. What you see on your screen now is a image of how they're handling stormwater on the property. This was an issue that was identified by some residents at the Plan Commission meeting, so we tried to make sure to go through that in a lot more detail so that they understood how that was being handled on site. In essence, the image that you see in the lower right-hand corner is a cross-section of basically concrete vaults that will hold the stormwater that comes off the building, comes off the site, and retains it, and then releases it at a much slower rate than even what is on the site currently. And it will only release it at one section, which is in the northwest corner of the site, into the tributary down to Fitiment Creek. And so it won't be actually flowing all the way across the site as it does today, which runs that potential to create some erosion in the creek. A final sign package was also included with this submittal that you see on your screen. Sign 1 would be up towards the clubhouse. Sign 2 is out by 159th Street in coordination with the commercial property owner on that corner. Resolution, here's where those are on the clubhouse. There will be some signage just simply saying the Springs on the clubhouse building itself. I'm going to turn it over to Jen to go through a couple things from Continental's perspective, and then I'll wrap it up with the motion that was recommended by the Plan Commission.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you for having me tonight. Again, I'm Jen Patton. I'm with Continental Properties. I just started with Continental about a year ago, and it's been great to be included in this project. I know that this project has been going on for quite some time, so I want to thank staff, Sunny, Lance, engineering department, and their consultants for being so patient. We've gone through quite a few hurdles to get this project to where it is today, so I'm really glad to be in front of you all presenting this for final approval. A little bit about Continental, and you may have already heard some of this, so I'm just going to make this as brief as possible. Continental is a privately held national multifamily retail and hospitality developer out of Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I personally live in Lockport, but I do work remotely. We develop and manage all of our own properties, so we have no third-party property management companies. We're all in-house. And we handle all of our own day-to-day leasing for all of our operations. We have multifamily development across the continental U.S. These numbers are actually already a little dated, just given what we've gotten in the last couple weeks. But we are developing properties right now within 19 states across the country. Between our 3 brands, we have the Springs brand, which we're proposing here for Lockport, our Authentics brand, and our Avantera brand. A little bit about the amenities for the property. We have a clubhouse. It's about 4,630 square feet. Our clubhouse has a 24/7 fitness center available to the residents. The clubhouse is accessed via a key card, and it has 24-hour video surveillance for that. There's a cafe area that's available to residents to rent out for events privately, or they also have community resident events pretty much monthly. We have a resort-style pool, sun deck, grilling area behind the clubhouse, and again, the cafe and lounge. Some of the community amenities, pet playground, a fenced-in pet playground with agility equipment, car care center, pet spa. This property, unlike some of our others, is going to be one of the first that has a multi-use sport court for pickleball, tennis, things of that nature, gas fire pit, benches, and we do have this community is a gated community, as is all of our Springs communities. Again, we have our 24-hour maintenance team for all of our customer needs. Interiors, our unit plans range from studio to 3 bedrooms. Typical Springs, we have about 10% of the units are studios, 40% are 1 bedrooms, 40% 2 bedrooms, and about 10% 3 bedrooms for our units. Some of the interior home features, bright open concept floor plans, stylish interiors, high ceilings, large windows. Our kitchens have spacious islands with granite countertops. We have a hardwood style flooring, energy efficient appliances, stainless steel. Given the type of unit it is, they have private balconies or private patios. All of our 2-story units are all direct entry, and then the 3-story units are accessed through a small corridor. And then there are attached and detached garage options available to the residents in addition to the surface parking provided. These are just some photos of some of the interiors and an isometric of the 2-bedroom home, the 3-bedroom, and the studio. Some of the other community features that we offer in addition to the gated entrance, we also have the trash concierge service to our residents. So in addition to the trash enclosure, we have a trash valet service that will pick up trash every day, 5 days a week, from the residents each day to kind of help that situation. And the residents seem to really enjoy having that. That's all I have. I just wanted to keep it as brief as possible for you tonight. Lance has done a great job of being pretty thorough in his overview on the plan. So if you have any questions, please.
I have 2 questions. How many total square feet will this complex be, and what's the projected cost per square foot?
Okay, so we have, I have that for you. So our total square footage, including all of the apartment buildings, clubhouse, that's about 375,000 square feet. That's not including the smaller ancillary structures, the garages, the maintenance building. And then the total cost, including land and vertical, is about 54 million, so about 168,000 per unit. So if you're doing a taxes calculation, I can tell you, I know that Will County has just been reassessed, but our project over Springs at Weber Road has 292 units, and that is not, they had $923,000 for their annual taxes. We have a tax consultant on board, and they're anticipating this to be about $1 million to $1,100,000.
Hey, Lance, can you go back to the plan view? Yeah, a couple more. So, in front there's not provided. Okay, I get it. I was just curious about something for the future commercial, so, all right, it's all right. I just need to look at it. Okay.
I have a comment or a question, or I don't know who would answer. It would be Brent or Bob Schmoody. If we could go to the stormwater, the blue thing there. Go back. Okay. I just found it kind of fascinating when it was discussed how stormwater was going to be handled there in the blue section, and I was wondering if one of you two could go ahead and explain to the rest of us how stormwater is going to be stored and how many gallons of storage is going to be in there.
Yeah.
I already know the answer.
Bob will come on down, but as far as gallons and those types of things, we do it it's called acre feet is the volumes that we would use, so we can, I guess, put that into gallons if we need to, but we'll let Bob kind of talk a little bit more about that.
Bob Schmoody with Chamlin, the city's consulting engineer, so we did all the plan review for the springs. Altogether, there's about 12 acre feet of storage. So that's a function of the allowable release rate that the 100-year storm is allowed to leave the site, which is actually a release rate that's much less, as Lance said, than the existing release rate. So 12 acre feet comes out to somewhere around 4 million gallons. And about 94% of that is in the underground chambers. I think the one exhibit, the one right up there, it shows in blue where the underground chambers are. But keep in mind, each one of those chambers is about 11.5 feet deep. So they're if you've seen them installed or possibly on trucks, they're planning on using storm trap, which is a concrete chamber. And these are the double chambers where you put one on the bottom and another one stacks on the top. And these will be watertight. There are a lot of retaining walls in the proximity of the underground chambers, so we want to make sure that those water pressures aren't subjecting to the wall. And then there is a small at-grade basin, which is shown in green up top. and that's just a function of some of the drainage divides that are out there. Everything ends up discharging at a slow rate to the northwest, which goes into a tributary and then eventually into Fitterment Creek to the west.
Did that satisfy your curiosity?
No, it was, I had already heard this, but one of the questions is always going to be, especially the residents to the northwest there, is they're going to be concerned about water and stormwater, and I just was amazed when he said 4 million gallons of storage. That's a lot of water.
So these vaults that are parked next to each other, do they raise to a level and then fill the next one? And then is there a small pipe that comes out the last one to release it slowly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's actually 3 different components, and you can actually see them, how they're separated. There's the 2 blue underground chambers, and then there's the at-grade green, which is a typical storm water basin. It's just a dry basin. The dry basin drains into the underground chambers that's closest to it there, and then that chamber drains into the one in the northwest corner, and then everything ends up draining out to the northwest from that northwest chamber. So they're all interconnected. Some of them are at different elevations. Typically, I think the at-grade basin has the highest level, and then it drops from there. So they're interconnected and they operate together, but they operate at different bottom and top elevations, so that the total amount of storage and the total release rates are met.
So the release rate is a function of like how big the hole leaving it is? Is that really what it comes down to?
The release rate drives the storage, because the release rate is small. So in order to control how many cubic feet per second is the trigger there, to control the cubic feet per second allowed to release downstream, you end up having to have storage
Backed up.
for that water to back up, so that release rate through an outlet control device, which usually has several orifices in it, allows the water to slowly release. And when the rain is heavy, the chambers fill up, the basin fills up. They all have overflows, but eventually they overflow into one another, and they still overflow out to that northwest corner. So everything goes there.
One more question. This is more long-term. Typical septic tank fills up with debris. Over the years, you're going to have not sewer lines, but water lines from parking lots filling those vaults. How do you keep those clean so you don't go from 4 million gallons to 2.5?
They'll need to be inspected and cleaned out at least once a year, maybe twice a year. And they actually submitted a stormwater management plan that has a schedule for that. So typically on a project like this, the storm sewers get cleaned out like probably 4 times a year. These chambers have a lot of volume. The storm sewers that are upstream are supposed to try to catch that, the catch basins. There's a lot of erosion control, permanent and temporary, that are supposed to keep debris out of the chambers, but they still do need to be inspected and cleaned out once or twice a year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
I just have a question. I just want to verify. Can you tell me how many exits and entrances this subdivision will have?
Has one access off of Edelman, the existing light that's there, and then it would be accessed off of the right in, right out on 159th Street. So if you see Edelman, which is on the left, it's labeled Edelman Drive. That would be the main entrance. That would come back to the clubhouse. And then over to the right, kind of where it hooks around to the right, that would be the right in, right out access. So a right in, right out means you can turn in right, going westbound on 159th Street, and turn out, going right, westbound on 159th Street. You cannot turn out, going left, to go eastbound on 159th.
And you feel that that's adequate?
IDOT is the jurisdiction.
The only other question I had was due to the fact that you have 24-hour maintenance team on alert there. Is there a manager that's going to be there? 24, not 24/7, but 7 days a week? Okay.
Our
Do
managers.
you have an office there that, okay.
Yep, they have their own office. They're there 7 days a week. They do lock things up at night. Anywhere where there is access for the residents, those are locked up at night, but they are video surveillance for safety. And
There's always someone there during the day.
I got one more question. You mentioned car care center. Is that like an oil change facility? What is that?
it's so residents can vacuum out their cars, wash their cars. I think there might have been a picture on the slideshow. Maybe not. No. So yeah, it's right attached to our maintenance building. It's a pet care, so there's where you can actually wash have your dog, bathe your dog. And then there's also the car care where you can pull up your car, vacuum it out, and wash it there.
That's why it's gated, so you can't pull in there and use it.
Can't get my car washed there.
Pat was like, man, I get my car.
Get my dog vacuumed.
Yeah.
How is that water managed that comes off the car wash?
I'm sorry?
How is
It's all
that water
through the
managed?
stormwater management.
It's stormwater. It's treated as stormwater and not as.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there like a triple trap that picks up like oil, stuff like that gets washed off the cars? Or I was thinking of somebody like washing their engine.
Yeah.
And
I'd have to follow up with you on that. I'm sure there is. I just don't
Yeah.
know the exact logistics of that.
You know, Bob? I don't know. Okay. I think it'd be separate. It'd be different or slightly different because you're wanting to catch more of the oil and stuff and catch basins.
I'm sure
don't
there's a
test-
separator. I just don't know how all of that.
There is an oil water separator?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only other question I had was the grade in the back of the property, is that brought up to meet the Creekside Center on the west? Or is it like a mountain of, or we have just giant retaining walls between properties? Sorry to call you up again.
No, that's okay. So there are some retaining walls on the very north end,
Mm-hmm.
predominantly on the western half of the north end. And then at the eastern half of the north end, that's just a grade that basically comes off of the, that at-grade detention basin. So it is elevated there. I want to say there's 55 feet of vertical fall from the south end of the site to the north end, so they're dealing with a lot of grade change. More or less, the retaining walls are spread out throughout the site. I think the tallest one is 15 feet, and I think that's on the south end. By the time you get up to the north end, I think those retaining walls are only about 5 feet. So they're essentially terracing the grade to balance the earthwork, to build these big pads and all of the network of roads. So it's a pretty intricate grading and drainage plan, but I think it does a really nice job of terracing, across the land.
Yeah.
To your question specifically, Alderman, where your office is, if you would look straight across, it would be a retaining wall that you would be looking at. It wouldn't be the full height of that space, so it's not like you're going to be looking up into the sky to have the buildings, but there would be a retaining wall. So if you look at that site plan, and you can kind of see a jagged line that's in between the dark dashed line and the parking lot. It kind of goes from about where the little island by the gates on the entry road are, goes from there north and then kind of jags up diagonally up to the north side of the parking area. So that wall goes from anywhere between like 2 feet to 10 feet. I think in a couple locations it's about 10 feet tall. So that kind of lets you know how that corner of the site is handled.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking as a bigger picture, it's nice to see developments that can be accessed by the adjoining
Right.
development, so it's not like, well, you get in your car and you go
Right.
that way, and then you take a left and then you go into your next
Right.
door neighbor's,
Yep.
development.
And that's why we really focused on that first access point where everybody exits out of the office development and is able to come across to the new commercial when that's there in the future.
Great.
One more. The retaining walls that are built around this, we've had a lot of subdivisions within Lockport that built retaining walls, and 15 years later, they're falling apart. What's the lifespan on some of these retaining walls?
These are segmental block retaining walls, so if they're designed and constructed properly, they should last 50, 60, 70 years. I'm aware of some of the walls that are failing around town, because we're brought in from time to time to look at those. So we have structural engineers that review all of the calculations, and earlier I mentioned the hydrostatic pressure from water. So there's a lot of forces that, you know, are considered in the design. So the design engineers, you know, submitted detailed calculations of all these. So every one of these walls has a series of geogrid, which is basically like a geo fabric that's behind the wall, and there's a lot of stone backfill that goes into these walls. So the walls themselves are just a small part of the actual structure. Most of the structure is invisible. It's behind. It's the geogrids. It's the stone backfill compacted in layers. I think a lot of the older walls around town were a little more primitive. So some of the walls that are failing either don't have that geogrid, or they just weren't as well designed. So I'm confident that with the newer walls that are being proposed around town, they're going to last a long time because they're designed right and they're being built right.
Okay.
And the other benefit is it's single ownership.
You're right.
Yeah, it's not an HOA.
I've got one more. Hate to keep bringing the meeting up.
That's what you're here for.
There's a piece of property up front, keep it on this slide here. It says not part of the plan.
Correct.
Ben had mentioned something to me about, you know, how that came to be. Eventually, should that become up for sale, let's say, it looks like it's kind of landlocked in terms of what the intent of that would be as.
One of the reasons why you see that east-west road going back behind there is we wanted to try and provide access to the backside of all those lots. So if you envision Lockport Square across the street and the rear road that goes behind all of those to provide access to the outlots, that's in essence the function of what that road would do.
Okay, but that parcel that's not included in this development, is that going to be like a prairie? I think Ben said.
It's unannexed right now.
It's
and so
unannexed.
it's somebody else's
Actually,
property.
it is annexed.
But is
Are you
that
talking about annexed? It is
Is
annexed.
that part of Lockport where we can?
It is.
We can do code enforcement if
Yeah,
that's what you're
it
asking,
is
but
annexed.
this development would be built around it, and then if he eventually sells, my guess is a developer will buy it and make it a commercial lot, much like you see where Panera is, right?
Okay.
It'll be assimilated within the overall development at some point in the future.
Thank you.
So, thanks,
Last
Bob.
one.
I want Bob on my Jeopardy team. He knows a lot of good answers. Bob does a really nice job for us and Brent and Lance's team, and he's also a Lockport resident.
I do have a comment card, so Jody Estrada, if you want to come up and speak your mind.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jody Estrada. I live in Maple Hill, which is right north of the property. So our whole common lot is with Fittimity Creek flowing through it, and then a pond. And that pond is private, same with the Fittimity Creek and all, 100-year floodplain. And so I just want to bring a couple concerns that have been addressed, and we feel a lot more comforted and appreciative for all the information from Lance, Ben, Brent, Bob, and then Janet and all the crew at Continental. But we had crime that happens to our retaining wall with graffiti from teenagers. 4th of July, somebody blew up a part of our retaining wall, a little part where the drain is. And ETVs go back there. In the wooded area, there's a trail, Maple Hill Trail, and then the Fittimity Creek Trail, and goes all the way up past 355 over there, going to 151st. And so they get stuck in our area where the breach is, close to the breach, in the breach. Just depends on the water that flows through the creek, because with a storm, like we were all talking about, how much water goes through the area where Springs is right now. We tend to have a lot of issues with erosion, and the city of Lockport's working with us trying to get things fixed, and our pond is got a big breach. So we're just very concerned to make sure that everything works the way that it's designed, and obviously it's designed extremely well. And for 94% being underwater is a huge benefit to us. So we acknowledge that, and we appreciate all the hard work of everybody, because that is going to make it so much safer, not only for us and our properties, but everyone downstream. And I thank you for asking all the questions about debris and clean out never would have thought of that to like ask, so I appreciate everybody. But just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware there is no fence on that property line, and there is the easement where they have to, the city of Lockport has to go access things. And there is the trails as you drop off. It's like 125 from the little tags and the pink line on the property line, from that point where Maple Hill Trail is, and Finney Creek Trail going into our property. So it's like you can really kind of get back there really easy. And so we're just making sure nobody goes back to our private property that's not supposed to be. And we won't go to anybody else's property because we'll make sure everybody knows, don't go past that line. But I just wanted to appreciate everybody one more time, and thank you for your hard work.
Okay, Jody, thank you for staying on it, and coming to the meetings. All right, friends, anything else?
So I'll just close it out here, just to reference the motions that were recommended by the Plan Commission. Resolution 22056 established the concept plan approval last year and reasonable assurance that to the applicant that if the final development plans were consistent with the concept plan, they would receive approval. This item went before the Plan and Zoning Commission at their August 8th meeting. Staff presented the staff report, and the applicant also provided a presentation like she did tonight. The commission asked questions and generally discussed the proposed development. They found the development favorable and made a recommendation to the City Council to approve by a vote of 7-0 the two motions that you see on your screen, with the one condition on motion 2. Again, this is related to ordinance 23027 and resolution 23076. We would request that this be put on City Council for action or consent.
Actually, it'll be part of the action, since it will be in line with the annexation.
For
agreement.
action.
All right. All right, sounds good. We'll have it on for action. Thank you, staff and everyone, for all your hard work on that. All right, friends, let's move down to CD2.
This is a concept plan extension on the approval. The Flagstone Villas concept plan was approved on August 17th in 2022. The applicant is requesting a one-year extension of that approval based on construction costs, financing costs, and other things that have put a slowdown on his ability to advance the project.
I have a question. Unfortunately, in the list of ones you can go back to, that's like 2 weeks prior to, so I couldn't tell where the property was at.
This is on the northeast corner of Cedar Road and Victoria Crossings. So if you know where Cedar and Division is, if you go north from there, there is a vacant parcel on the right-hand side just north of the Victoria Crossings east entrance.
Okay. All right. And there's no other people that are interested in that because they're asking for a one-year extension. So have they done any site work on that? Or I mean,
Outside of the surveys and the site planning that they had done before, that's what they've pursued.
Mm-hmm.
The one-year extension was allowed for in their original resolution that was approved by the council.
okay, thank you.
This one right here, this area right here.
Any other thoughts, questions on that one?
Out to Cedar, you go north.
This is a smaller development that Chris Cazzo is trumpeting. He couldn't be here tonight, but he's a familiar developer in our town and wants to reengage the market in the spring, is what he said.
Okay. So you guys good with an extension? It'd be good, should we just do consent, or consent? Okay. All right, next we've got the Lupine School.
This is related to ordinance 23024. The applicant, Tina Davidson, who is in the audience tonight, on behalf of Lupine Montessori School, is seeking approval of a special use permit to allow their existing private Montessori school to relocate to the property located at 948 North State Street, which is a couple units north of where they currently are. The applicant desires to purchase the 11,530 square foot commercial building with the parking lot and the vacant lot to consolidate their sites. If you'll remember, they split their site to accommodate their school growth, one down close to Villanova, and then their original location just south of where this location particularly is. The larger building can better accommodate their needs for students, parking, academic activities, and future growth in one location. The item was a public hearing that went before the Plan and Zoning Commission at their August 8th meeting. By a vote of 7-0, the Plan Commission made a recommendation to the City Council to adopt staff's findings of fact and approve a special use permit for a private school for the property located at 948 North State Street, subject to the conditions, which I'll very briefly go through. The first one is the parking lot will need to be resurfaced with a new surface course, and any restoration of any sub-base included, new striping and curbs where appropriate prior to August 1st, 2024. 2, the applicant shall work with planning staff at the time of the parking lot to identify any landscape improvements that might be necessary. Item 3, the existing monument sign is currently in the State Street right-of-way and will need to be relocated. The applicant is committed to trying to work with the other 2 neighbors to come up with a shared multi-tenant sign. That would need to be constructed and moved prior to August 1st, 2024. The dumpsters will need to be screened in accordance with city code. A building permit will be required for any interior and exterior remodeling and renovation, and any new outdoor lighting shall be reviewed and approved by the city. We would request this item be placed on either action or consent on the City Council agenda. If you have any questions for either myself or Tina, she is here to answer them.
Question. All full of them tonight.
Yeah.
That was the building that was going to be the repair shop, right?
Correct.
And they were going to have the on-site container of water to do fire suppression?
Correct.
So now that we've extended the water past the front of that buildings, they'll be able to tap onto that line, which will then give them more of a conventional fire
Correct.
suppression?
Yes.
And then that'll be part of your building renovation to include fire, sprinkler, and all that inside there, right?
Actually, hello, I'm Tina Davidson. It's really nice to have Lance say everything for me, so I appreciate that. That is what made the project approachable for us. You know the cost of that project, and that was not something that we could take on ourselves. So that's really why we returned to looking at it again.
This is great, Tina. So everybody will be back under one roof again?
That's the hope.
Yes, nice.
And we'll have one more classroom as well, so we'll still be able to grow.
Okay, good.
And we'll be able to, with that green space, the 1 acre property, be able to put a fence that will come before a different approval committee, so that our kids aren't right on Archer Avenue.
The nice thing about that property too is you have area between you and the bowling alley, so you can have like a playground back there. Is that what you're kind of thinking in
Yes,
terms of
that's
expanding on
exactly
that?
it.
And that keeps them all under lock and key per se?
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. We good with any other questions? Sorry.
Does the property extend into the back?
The property line, the way it was explained to me,
Okay,
and I'm not.
I see it.
Do you? Okay. Yeah, it's.
Perfect.
It's like lines right up with the electric poles back there.
Gotcha.
This is a really challenging piece of property because it was originally supposed to be consolidated, just like any other shopping center. But the ownership never was able to come to an agreement, and so it got segmented into all these strip parcels that go all the way out to State Street. And so the challenge with the parking lot is that, and I forget, I don't think some of you were on the council when we went through this related to the actual water line that we're installing. The challenge is that many of them don't actually have parking spaces or aisles that meet any current standard, because they tried to fit them in their narrow lots, and everybody has to drive onto everybody's property to actually access their parking spaces. So this is severely challenged development, really a more permanent development in this property for years. The water line is a really important link to that, and we think that the new line that's installed and operational now will be a positive thing for the overall area.
And that may open up more development opportunities for the strip mall in there, because I know right now you are like 80% of the facade of that building. Moving you all the way to the end might
correct
allow the current owner to redevelop that and create
Yes.
better space, so that'll be good.
All right, anything else? Everyone good with the consent on this? All right, consent, please. All right, CD4.
Thank you, Mayor. This is related to ordinance number 23-013, In April of this year, the City Council adopted Ordinance 23012, approved the involuntary annexation of this property under the authority of the Illinois Municipal Code, Section 65 ILCS 5/7-1-13, which allows a territory that is less than 60 acres in size and wholly bounded by a municipality and a property owned by the state, which would be Canal Road owned by IDNR, to be involuntary annexed to the municipality. City staff was not able to get the property owner to voluntarily agree to the annexation, so there is no agreement on the zoning classification for the two parcels. Therefore, our recommendation is that the zoning will begin at R1 residential, and the owner will have to apply for future operations and city land use in our code. The Plan Commission reviewed this at their August 8th meeting. By a vote of 6-1, the PZC made a recommendation to the City Council to approve the rezoning from I-2 General Industrial in unincorporated Will County to R1 Single Family Residential in the City of Lockport for the property located at 2601 through 2701 Canal Street.
Mr. Talano's here, if you want to come up, Jeff. And
I would have rather waited to see what anybody had to say on it, but I assume you may be aware now that I'm working together with the owners of the porta potty location down the street, and we're communicating with a lawyer because there's a lot of stuff that's been done here illegally, as well as dishonestly with this whole annexation. And it's my understanding that you're attempting to do the same thing with the porta potty business down the street. I warned in the first time I came here to speak that the city and the people involved at the city are civilly putting themselves in danger by breaking laws and violating people's constitutional rights. I'm warning you of that again. I don't look, forward to going to civil lawsuits with the city, but I've done it before with cities. The Supreme Court just recently, in the last few years of the United States, made it clear that individual members of cities, mayors, council members, police, etc., can be sued directly in federal civil court. They overturned 40 years of precedent so that you do not have to exhaust state court remedies, so that you can be sued individually and as a city directly in the Dirksen Building, downtown Chicago, which is not pleasant. So, that being said, I'm preparing some stuff now that'll probably be letters to the city council members and the mayor and the city's attorney. I'll be looking for a lot of disclosure information under the Freedom of Information as we prepare stuff to debate legality with the city's council, presumably first. And then we'll see whatever you guys vote, and we'll take action from there, most likely, in defense of our properties. And I can't speak for the porta potty owners directly, but nobody wants to get annexed into the city for a whole bunch of obvious reasons: taxes, regulatory stuff, etc. There's a reason people buy property outside the city limits. Specifically, I bought property outside the city limits, and there's no services for the property owners down there. Never has been. They don't plow the streets. They don't do police protection. One of the reasons the city obviously wanted to annex it was to stop us from practicing our constitutional right to shoot guns at our range. But they don't do anything about the drive-by shootings we have by paintballers on a regular basis against us on our property, at us while we're not wearing face masks. The police don't investigate it. We get no services, basically, none whatsoever, nor do we want any, nor do we want to be annexed. And it's very simple. But eventually it will come down to a lengthy and costly battle for the city and possibly the members of the council as well, and the mayor, anybody else involved in it, because that's what the U.S. Supreme Court said you can do when you have your constitutional rights violated. Now, I had a contract for cash offer. I had an additional contract after the city destroyed that cash offer by this gentleman sitting here. The city's destroyed both of those offers by telling the buyers that they can't use the road. This is a flat-out lie by whoever spoke, which is my understanding is Ben and the mayor, to the purchasers, because the state owns the road. And I talked to the DNR, who's the one of the state that owns the road, and they said specifically to me that they've never told anybody that anybody cannot use or use the road. He also said there's no lease agreements required from property owners all the way back to the 70s and probably before that. And he said it's the same road that goes all the way to the north side of Lockport by the property that the city bought that used to be the refinery, and that goes south of 159th Street all the way to us and beyond. He said everybody's allowed to use that road. Why would you not be able to use it as well? And why would your purchasers not be able to use it? Trucks go from 159th Street to Division Street down Canal Road. Why would the city tell you and your purchasers and destroy a deal that you have that they can't, that they won't be able to use the road? He said, we never said any such thing. So the city's already on the hook for destroying a $1 million deal that I had to sell my property. Both deals came with the stipulation that the property was going to get cleaned up for the sale by the purchasers. This guy sent you a letter to the council and the mayor saying that he would clean it up as a good faith effort, no cost. The city said he can't use the road. Well, the city doesn't have the authority to say he can't use the road. So basically, already the city's on the hook for a $1 million closing they blew. So you're holding $1 million of my money because the mayor chased off a buyer by telling him he can't use the road that the mayor doesn't have the ability to tell him he can't use. And I don't have much more to say than that, except for the fact that if the city persists, there's going to be lawsuits, and everybody cooperating is going to get named. And they know the lawyer that the porta potty guys hired. He's one of the best in this whole area for fighting cities on stuff like this. So I caution the council and the mayor. It could get very expensive for the city and at a personal level, because 1983 actions in federal court go against individuals for violating constitutional rights or cooperating in them. So that's it. So best of luck to y'all. Nobody wants any trouble with the city, but we don't want to be part of it.
Thanks, Jeff.
I have a question, Steve.
Yeah.
Currently, what is that property being used at? You mentioned people shooting guns down there. Is it a rifle range, gun range?
Well, we set up a range there years ago, backed by like a 40-foot tall pile of rocks. Just a short range, maybe 20 to 40 yards.
So right now, that's all that's used for?
No. We just do that recreationally there.
All right.
We don't do it as a business. The shooting part, we don't do as a business. We just always done it recreationally.
So other than that, the property is just not used, vacant, nothing
No.
going on?
We use it. We rent it out for truck parking. We use it to repair trucks and equipment. We have a shop there. We had a junkyard that's operating there for salvage. It's been the same kind of usage for, I don't know, probably 30 years before we even bought it.
Okay.
We were renting truck parking there before we bought it, I believe in the early 2000s. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was.
Jeff, how much do you get per load that gets dumped out there, the rubbish that gets dumped?
I don't allow any rubbish to get dumped there.
So all that rubbish that's there, all that garbage that's not, you're not getting any money for that? Somebody's just dumping on your property?
Any garbage that's there, yes.
They're just dumping, that's illegally
up and down
dumping.
the
Have you
road.
called the police on that for people illegally dumping on your property?
No, I've called the police for 1,000 things. The night you guys were passing a new ordinance to try to pass a new ordinance against shooting within the city limits that would affect me, obviously. We had 9 Lockport kids down there on their bicycles, did about $30,000 in damage. They broke into the building, they stole tools, they busted the windows out of my van, 2 of my pickup trucks. These are ones that I use. One of the 6-wheelers we use in the yard, and my loader, as well as about 10 or 12 other vehicles. The night you guys were discussing taking away my constitutional rights by city ordinance, a couple Wednesdays ago.
So what were you gonna do, shoot them? I don't understand. What are
No,
you
I'm just
concerned
saying,
about?
there's no, that's where, we get nonstop damage down there since the paintball park, and that's been open, and Lockport doesn't patrol it.
Jeff,
I said, do I call the cops? We've called the cops. I call the cops chasing people out of there. I've called Lockport before when they're destroying stuff. And they said, it's not our problem. Call Will County. I said they're running into the city of Lockport.
I mean, it hasn't been our problem because it hasn't been annexed, so
Well-
that's part of it. It's the sheriff's department, and
Right.
sheriff's
Well, yeah,
department
but
usually
if you
doesn't-
have criminals running into your community, you don't do anything about it if they're on the escape?
If they're doing damage on an unincorporated piece of property, it's not our jurisdiction. But going back to the dumping, all that dumping is illegal to you. And you've never gotten any money for that. Nobody's paying you to
I
dump
don't
rubbish.
let
in
anybody
there.
dump garbage there, of any sort. No, never.
So all those foam pieces, all that like broken up
No, the
pavement,
styrofoam I took in on purpose, but it wasn't.
the
it wasn't
tires,
broken up.
all the tires.
No tires on the road are from me. All the tires that we generate are in the back, it's kept where they belong. If they're on the road,
And then the
they're
other
for
thing,
dumping.
and remember, Jeff, all I ever asked you, starting back a year ago, was just move your stuff onto your property. I don't ever really cared what you did on your property. It was the problem with you were not on your property. You're 20 feet off of your property. I'm all for your constitutional rights. I'm all for those things, but you don't have constitutional rights to other people's property, Jeff. And half of your
But it's not
crap,
the city's property, so it's not the city's
but
property.
we all have to go past it, and we have been trying to help maintain that road, to let citizens access the park district. So we have been working on it. And as far as access to the road, there is an IDNR property, that IDNR roads have special truck permitting. You don't have that. But even without that, even if that weren't the case, we still have access to go into it. So saying that, we don't want trucks coming in on a big tow truck, winding around through that neighborhood to get to the IDNR road, that is our road, and we do have access to that. We can put weight limits on that, so we do have control
Then why
over the
isn't the road
entrance to
finished
it.
for that one notch, and it could go straight through where all the other trucking is, right there, where we have a bunch of trailer parking, the rest of Canal Road. There's only one notch there of trees, 100 feet,
Yeah.
that the canal, that road doesn't go through?
Yes,
my
but it
understanding,
goes
that was
through
supposed to be
our
expanded.
neighborhood, the roads that we have to maintain, and so we do have control to the access of it. So that's not a lie to say that we don't have control over the road. All we ever did was ask you to move your stuff back 20 feet, and you just would not do it.
And I was selling the property, and that was gonna get done, but y'all
But even
stopped
with
the
it, it's
sales
like
of
we
the
have the
property.
ability to say no to truck parking and truck repairs on that road, because bringing large trucks through our downtown on a tow truck was going to be problematic. And so I told
It's not through
the gentleman
downtown,
here who
first
wanted
of
to
all,
do
it's down
that.
Canal
And that
Street.
is our responsibility, is to look at how truck traffic goes through our town. It's not just about your isolated parcel.
already
We have to
been
think about
trucking.
how all the access gets there.
It's already been trucking for 30, 40 years. Everybody on the, only 3 private pieces of
And
property
then
down
to
there
add
were all
to it
trucking.
by bringing a tow truck and then hauling a
Well, the
semi
buyer
behind
before
it.
that wasn't gonna do tow trucks, they were just gonna do truck parking, which is what
So,
we've done there
if
for
I
40
could-
years.
For the sake
Yeah.
of the order of the meeting,
I could
what's
interject.
before the city council is the rezoning of this property that's already been annexed in. As stated by Lance, cited in the communication to the city council, the Illinois Municipal Code statutory, governing the annexation of this parcel that's already been annexed. If there is no agreement with the property owner, the property is automatically rezoned to the most restrictive use, which would be a R1. This property is surrounded by R1, and therefore there are ample support to have this property zoned by R1. This item's up for either to place this on the city's council's agenda for either consent or action item, and I would advise that the city council either put this for action or consent.
Thanks. What do you guys want to do? You want to action or you want to do consent?
Action's fine.
Action's fine. We'll do it for an action item. Thank you.
On September 4th, yep.
All right, next up is CD5.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for an amendment to the planned unit development of Lockport Square at Farrell Road to allow a massage therapy for the commercial tenant unit located at Lot 3 at 16109 South Farrell Road. This is related to ordinance 23-025. The applicant, Edgar Vargas, has submitted an application for an amendment to the special use permit to allow massage therapy to take place at Physical Therapy Center located at the aforementioned address. The property is located within an inline retail commercial multi-tenant building shown on your screen at the Lockport Square of Farrell Road along Farrell Road, which is a planned development PD. There is no new development taking place. The applicant will co-locate with the current tenant, Physical Therapy Center, at the above-mentioned address to provide the additional services for the existing customers. Based on the general guidelines for planned development, Section 156-144, staff finds that the proposed development will not injure or damage the use, value, and enjoyment of surrounding property, nor hinder the development of surrounding property in accordance with the comprehensive land use plan of the city. By a vote of 7-0, the Plan and Zoning Commission recommended approval for an amendment to the plan development for Lockport Square Trail Road. Again, this is related to 23025, and we would request it either for action or consent on the city council agenda.
And just for clarification, Lance, this helps separate kind of the massage parlor from like actual therapy. This is like
Correct.
clear what this is about, and so this has been vetted, and this is
Right.
why you feel comfortable with it.
Correct.
Okay.
This will be within an existing therapy. I think it's primarily sports therapy and some other therapy type uses.
Okay. Any questions, thoughts, concerns on it?
No, I'm good for consent.
Consent, please, then. All right, next is PW1, release of the bond for,
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple items this evening, PW-1, this is for a release of a bond and the initial acceptance of the temple. This temple was looking for an extension for water main. They have completed all of the water main improvements. We did have a bond in place in the amount of $27,004.50. This evening, we are looking to release that bond. I do have one modification to make on the background and then also the resolution. This will not be contingent upon us holding 10%. With the project size and the all of the work being private, we have worked with the applicant, and we are going to make that modification and recommend that to council this evening. So the resolution will be slightly modified for 2 weeks from now. It will not be contingent upon the one-year maintenance bond of 10%, but we would be asking for council's consideration to move forward with this recommendation to release the bond.
okay?
Where exactly is this?
Isn't this the 151st?
Yes, it's on the
Yeah,
east
okay.
east side of Lamont Road, just north.
Because the other temple is for sale.
Correct. It's not the Gigi Temple. No,
Oh, okay, I actually thought it was. All right.
no.
I didn't know that.
Julian Electric, I think, is on the west side.
Yeah, I
Yes.
never knew that was in Lockport, so.
This is not in Lockport.
Oh, okay.
No, this is not in Lockport. Not annexed. We just have water main in that proximity, and they were looking to
Okay.
make a connection.
All right, so you're good with it, Brent?
I am.
All right, we good with consent? All right. And
Thank you.
then Leslie, PW2.
PW-2, this is in regards to our clarifier weir brush system. So essentially what this does is this cleans the algae off of the clarifier. So as the clarifier moves in a circular direction, the water flows over a weir. That weir, with the sun, with the steel, with the concrete, with that limited amount of water, that we do get algae buildup. So what this is these are brushes that actually go on the arm, and they slowly basically compress down, and they clean that as they move around in a circle. So we're just looking to make that modification, add these to our existing clarifier. We do have the brushes. This would just be for the install. The amount, $32,680, that is for an all-in quote, so that would be taking what we have. Again, we have the brushes. It will include the tools, installation, startup testing, certification, and then our training. Asking for council to consider approving resolution number 23-073 to accept a quote from Ford Hall. This is for our South Plant secondary clarifier weir brush system in the amount not to exceed $32,680.
All right, any questions, thoughts, concerns? Good with the consent?
Is this replacing an existing system?
We do not, yeah, I know. We currently do not have this system, so we actually, these brushes were being salvaged from another plant, and so we took advantage of getting the brushes. So the brushes came to us for free from another municipality, and
Gotcha.
we're
That's
gonna-
the mention of the Glen Barn unit.
Correct.
In there.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. That's everything. I would like to recommend an exec session, but I forget the.
Yes, the request is for executive session under 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act regarding discussion of the discipline, performance, or removal of an occupant of a public office. So the motion could be either to adjourn this meeting to go into executive session, so you don't have to come back come back for the meeting,
Okay.
or you could just go into executive session and then come out afterwards and adjourn the regular
Well, why don't we do
meeting.
that? We've never done it the first way. It sounds like a better way of doing it.
Yes.
So what do
So-
we say? We say
yeah,
we'd like
So
to.
the motion would be to adjourn the regular city council meeting for the closed session meeting under 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, Sonny has asked. Okay, Renee? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Pat.
up here. Okay.
All right, good. So we just go over there, have her talk, and then we can be done.
Yep.
All right.